Hello, thanks for joining. Gonna give it
Hey
a couple
everybody.
minutes to let people jump in here. What do you think, Joel? Give just another minute here.
Sure, yeah, another minute, few seconds.
All right, we will get started. Thank you everyone for joining us. What we want to do today is help you decide when is this an automation problem and when is it truly an AI opportunity. So what we're hearing from manufacturers right now is a lot of pressure from all sides. Every vendor's talking about AI, and every article you're reading is AI driven and focused. And there's really this underlying feeling that if you're not doing something now, you're falling behind. So we've seen a lot of teams jump into AI conversations pretty early, but often before the underlying processes and data are in really a good place. And that's where things can get off track because when you start in the wrong place, it gets expensive fast. And at the end of the day, AI just accelerates what's already there. So if the foundation isn't solid, you're really just speeding up the problems. Before we dive in, let's quickly introduce ourselves. I am Tara Rummakers. I'm an account executive here at Bond Consulting Services, and I get the opportunity to talk to prospects and clients about this pretty much every day. Joel?
Awesome, thanks, Tara. And I'm Joel Trinidad. I'm a solutions consultant over here at BCS. I've been working here for a few years and really helping the team get on board, updated, and in tune with the latest and greatest when it comes to AI.
Fantastic. All right. Sorry, I'm behind on my slide already. Before we jump into the how, we need to get clear on the why, because if you don't define the problems first, it's really easy to apply the wrong solution. So what we're going to talk about here is that like a lot of the pressure here with AI is putting people into basically a place where they feel like they need to do something that they're not quite evaluated what that real next step is. And so sometimes automation is the better thing to fix the broken processes and get everything basically in line so that you have your stability at the very bottom. And then when you build automation or AI, it's going to be a very smooth track there for you. So really at the end of the day, AI on the top of a broken workflow is just going to help you fail faster. All right, so before we go further, I'm just going to level set a few terms because a lot of this gets used interchangeably and it really shouldn't. So at the base, you've got your data, that's your foundation, your ERP, your CRM, making sure the information itself is clean and reliable. And then on top of that are your processes. This is how the business actually runs day to day, your rules and your structure. Then it comes to automation. That's where you're taking those defined processes and letting the system handle the routing, the handoffs, the repeatable work. And then AI sits on top of all of this. And that's where you're getting into interpretation, recognizing patterns, and really accelerating your outcomes. So simply, if you want to think about it, you can clearly write the rule on a whiteboard, then that's probably an automation opportunity, not an AI one. And with that introduction, I'm going to pass it to Joel to dig in a bit deeper. Joel?
Yeah, thank you, Tara. Moving on to the next part of this, our team has kind of formulated something that we like to call the three-question test. Right, and that's the what, this decision tree. So looking at the three-question tests, we look at as you might expect, three questions, right? The first one is the rule predictable? The second would be, is the input messy or unstructured? And the third would be, is the underlying process working? So kind of digging into that, looking if there's a rule that's predictable that you're looking at, clearly defined, repeatable processes. If that question is a yes in your checkbook, then you might want to go through an automation route, right? We don't need AI to kind of dynamically recognize things if there is a repeatable process behind what you're looking to accomplish. However, if it's not, and you have something where the input is messy or unstructured, maybe you have files coming in that need interpretation, maybe you have things like forecasting that you want to do where you would need pattern recognition. If that's a yes, then you may want to explore, kind of like what Terry was mentioning, an AI solution. And then, if it's still a no, if the rule is not predictable, if what you're given is not structured, if it's kind of messy, then you look at whether the underlying process is working, right? Do you have clean data? Do you have consistent processes or workflows that you're using currently? If yes, then you may want to revisit. You might want to look at automation, you might want to look at AI, or even a combination of both of those. And if not, then that's where you might really want to start digging back to your fundamentals, right? It might be good to fix the process because if you have, uh, you know, underlying data that's unstructured or inconsistent and you have processes that are working with that, then whether you go with automation or AI, you might still have difficulties with your processes there. Right. Overall, the goal is not to avoid AI, but to apply the right solution to whatever your operational problem is. And if we head to the next slide there, we're going to look at some of those, operational problems or operational scenarios through a few of these manufacturing scenarios here. One thing that you might run into as a manufacturer is PO approval delays, right? Where you have purchasing might wait days for approvals, if somebody's out of the office or if there is, a process that's not working as expected. Uh, you know, Immediately nowadays people might want to jump into implementing AI as a solution there, but that might take you on the wrong track. Because again, if we go to our three question test, the first test or the first question is whether the rule is predictable. With something like a PO approval, a lot of the times it is predictable. If you have a certain vendor, you'll know that, a certain vendor is always going to go to a certain approver, or any approval or any purchase orders over a certain amount is going to go to a specific approver as well. That's often how approval scenarios work, where it's something where automation can kind of come in there. If you don't have a process that's already set up and you need to deal with these PO approval delays, automation might be your best guess just because oftentimes approvals are predictable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't
Another scenario. Yeah,
overcomplicate.
go ahead, Terry.
Don't overcomplicate something that's really replicable.
Exactly, exactly. If you got simple processes like that, automation is always your best bet. Looking at another scenario that might come up is inventory accuracy problems, right? You might have discrepancies across warehouses, what's in your spreadsheets that track inventory, and then what's also listed in your ERP system. A lot of the times people may want to go and look at AI forecasting, or automation flows that tell us the exact inventory of each item at each location at any different time. A lot of that can be going a little bit too far forward at any specific moment, right? Uh, in our opinion, the best idea is to fix your whatever your item master record is, to have inventory discipline, get all of your systems aligned with each other before trying to implement any processes that would be reading off of those inconsistent data. Another scenario that might come up would be vendor invoice processing, right? Let's say you have a lot of invoices come in right now. Your AP team has to manually key in all the line items, all the coding, all of the amounts manually into Business Central as a purchase invoice. You kind of want to automate that, right? Looking back at our three question tests, looking at if that's predictable. Well, yeah, it is kind of predictable in the sense where you would predict that you have invoices coming in from vendors, right? But, you can set up something where you automatically or through an automation bring in those invoices into Business Central. But then you run into that challenge of question number two, the input being a little bit messy, a little bit unstructured, right? Because as we all know, Vendor invoices all come in different formats. Each vendor has their own way that they send those invoices out. And that's where the AI could come in. So this is a scenario where you might want to have AI and automation working together, right? You might want to automate the processes to bring in invoices or even, register or approve invoices, right? But you could use AI to read the specific details within each specific invoice that's particular to that invoice. Another scenario would be production rescheduling, right? Sometimes you have constant replanning due to unforeseen disruptions, right? It might be demand variability, constraints, something happening, in your manufacturing processes there. That could be an AI opportunity, right? Because it's not something predictable. We wouldn't want it to be predictable. And it is something where things can be messy or unstructured, and you could use AI to do things like forecast demand variability. You could forecast production constraints based off of past incidences as well. So AI could be a great opportunity in addressing something like that. The last one that we'll look at today is just this idea of, we want an AI chatbot. That can be so broad, it can relate to so many different things. But overall, it could be an over-engineered distraction, right? If we look at, for example, scenario number two, if you have inventory accuracy problems, you might want to put in an AI chatbot to just say, hey, AI, tell me how much of this item is in this location, right now. A chatbot could work, but if you have, a bad item data, if you have inconsistencies in how you're tracking where those items are, then a chatbot would just kind of accentuate those inconsistencies, and you wouldn't really have a real solution. So having something like that could be an over-engineered distraction. The idea is to kind of find out why you want that, to look at the underlying reasons why you want that. Because again, the idea isn't to completely avoid AI. The idea is to apply like the right solutions to the right operational problems that we have. Right, a drill is great for all sorts of things in construction, but I would not want to use a drill to dig a hole. Right, and sometimes we run into those scenarios where people want to dig holes with drills when it comes to AI.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and another idea that we're kind of working with is this idea of prioritization, right? We want to prioritize for impact because, there can be quick wins and there are quick wins and there are strategic investments, right? We run into things like with the chatbot, right? That can be over-engineered where we invest a lot of money, a lot of time into something that doesn't really give us a huge solution, right? And it's great to start with quick wins. Like let's say you have a PO approval delay. All you have to do is set up a few workflows in Business Central, to kind of automate the process there. That's something that can be quick. You're not investing a ton of time or a ton of money into that, and it's a lower priority one, but you get that win done. Then you can move on to your next win where you might have a little bit more complexity in there, a little bit more engineering of an investment, but it's a little bit easier than our larger strategic investments. So overall, these quick wins help to build operational maturity, improve your workflows and data. And then when all of that is set up, you have great opportunities to pursue these higher value AI opportunities. Like our instance of the production rescheduling, bringing in AI to help forecast your demand. Once you have everything set up on the basic level, then those strategic investments, you'll really see the value and impact of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other part to it is just team adaptation. If you pick the quick wins, you're going to have buy-in quicker. You're going to have like basically your most viable product, and then you can iterate on that, get it perfect, and then move on to the more, higher value opportunities with AI. Thank you so much for that, Joel.
Excellent.
So what's next? So basically this slide is the framework we use to make sure we're focusing in the right place when we're working with clients and prospects. So we start with business drivers. What are you actually trying to achieve? What are you trying to fix? Then look at current challenges. Where are things breaking down today? And then from there, we factor in risk and what new capabilities could actually help you. When all those pieces line up, that's where you get real business outcomes like growth, cost savings, or improved productivity. It's really about connecting the dots before jumping into a solution. So if you're figuring this out on your own in real time, you don't have to do it alone. please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We obviously are excited to talk about this and make sure that you're on the right track. And we flew through that. So we will jump right into questions. So let's see here. Let's jump into that. Let me see if I've got any in here yet. And then just please keep in mind that we are doing free AI reviews for you. So if there's anything that you want to run through with us, then feel free to reach out to us. And the Copilot discount is running out quickly. So, all right, any questions? Let's see. I've got a chat and a QA. How do
Oh
we
yeah, I
know?
see.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead. How
I
do
think
we
I
know
was
if we're
reading the
ready
same one
for
as you, Tara.
AI? Okay, cool.
Exactly.
How do we
How
know
do
if
we
we're
know if we're
ready for
ready for
AI
AI
versus?
versus needing the better process
Yep,
discipline,
we're
right?
there. Yeah,
And
yep.
that is a great question. I'd say one of the bigger indicators of that is, ask yourself, is your underlying process already producing, consistent outcomes? Are you able to rely on the data that you're looking at? If inventory counts are unreliable or approvals are constantly getting bypassed, if teams are working from different master records for data, all those sorts of things, or, there's even disagreement about what the right process would be. AI usually won't solve that problem. In a lot of cases, it just amplifies the inconsistency. AI is just going to help us see what those inconsistencies are even more. Um, so in that case, it might be good to have the better process discipline and implement things around that. But, if your process is understood, if you're able to trust what your system is telling you in terms of inventory or data, things around that nature, and the challenge is just, scaling up, speeding, increasing your speed around those processes, or just identifying patterns that humans can struggle to catch. That's where
Mhm.
AI can really start creating meaningful value for you.
Yeah, even if you have like one field that the team is using differently, that can really mess up if you put AI on it and then it's just like, wait, I'm not sure what I'm doing with this. So yeah,
Exactly.
consistency is key for sure. Any other questions? I see something in the chat. Nope, that's just Emily, not just Emily, our fantastic Emily. All right. Well, our upcoming lunch and learns, please keep an eye out. We've got the payables agent on demand on our website. Expense agent is coming in July, and doing more with the team you have is also on our website. So feel free to take a peek. And thank you so much for everyone for joining. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or need anything from us. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.